Swiss women started asking for voting rights in 1868. And it was a very long path to getting voting rights because in Switzerland, the constitution, where voting rights are, can only be changed by a general popular vote. Everyone with the right to vote has to vote, and the majority must be in favor of it. That is not just a majority of all people who vote, it's a double majority actually. It has to be a majority of voters, and also a majority of the cantons have to have a majority of the voters voting yes. Fun fact, only men had the right to vote when this issue was voted on. The first time it came on the ballot was in 1959, and the answer was no. However, in the same vote, several cantons also proposed voting rights for women at the cantonal level, and several of them said yes. So when I say that my mother came from a country where she could not vote because she was black to a country where she could not vote because she was a woman, that's to give a general historical impression of the time that she was living in. Because in fact, she came to Geneva where she had voting rights in the canton, but she did not have voting rights in the country. Switzerland accepted voting rights for women the second time it came on the ballot in 1971. I was born in 1971, just barely making it a few months after this massive change in our legal system. So I was born into a country where people like me would have voting rights. But that was just barely. The canton that gave women voting rights the latest is Appenzell-Innerrhoden, which is one of the two Appenzell half cantons. And they actually never voted yes to giving women voting rights. What happened instead is that after women got voting rights on the national level, there were several initiatives that were put on the ballot and won. One of them was a constitutional principle of gender equality. And then people started taking the case to court. And the Supreme Court forced Appenzell-Innerrhoden to give women voting rights because it was by then not compatible with the Swiss constitution to not have equal rights for men and women. And that included, obviously, voting rights. This was in 1990. Except for Appenzell-Innerrhoden, though, in every other canton and on the national level in Switzerland, men did vote women's vote in. And the question is always, would guys have done this in your country? And if you think they would have, when do you think they would have? And I want no examples of men voting women's right in parliaments, because the number of men to convince in a parliament is tiny compared to what you have to do if you're going to go for a general popular vote, which Switzerland had to do. Yeah.